you are well and that you had an amazing day today. All right, so we are going to start with our lessons for today. And before we start with our lesson, you are going to the aplusclasses.ca. You're going to the aplusclasses.ca and then you're going to log in. You're going to log in with your username as well as your password. All right, so once you've logged in with your username as well as your password, you are going to select the subject of language arts. And then we go to grade 5s. All right, so once we have um, chosen the subject of language arts, and then we're going to scroll down to the chapter of helping verbs, right? All right, so you're going to scroll down up until you get helping verbs. So the chapter that we're focusing on is helping verbs. And our lesson is to identify main verbs and helping verbs, right? So we will be able to identify the main verb as well as the helping verb, right? All right. Okay, so before we go on to our tutorial, right? So we are doing helping verbs and to identify the main verb and the helping verb, right? And the helping verb, it's helping verbs are verbs that come before the main verb in a sentence, right? For example, the class is smiling. And over here, the class is smiling, right? Can you identify what the main verb is within that sentence? The class is smiling, right? So we need to first identify the main verb. So the main verb is, okay, I was looking for something. Okay, so the main verb is smiling, right? So that is the main verb, right? So here it says that helping verbs are verbs that come before the main verb, right? Which means that the helping verb will then be is, right? Which tell us what the class is doing now, right? The class is smiling, right? The main verb is smiling, and the helping verb is, right? So the helping verb is, the main verb smiling, right? All right, it says helping verbs help the main verb to describe action, right? So the helping verbs, it helps the main verb to describe action, right? And the action that happened in the past, or that is happening in the present, or will happen in the future, right? So that is what the helping verb does. It helps the main verb to describe action, whether in the present, whatever happened in the past, or what will be happening in the future, right? So that is the helping verb, right? And a few helping verbs are am, are, be able to, been or being, right? Can, do, does, going to, had, might, must. That is but a few, right? But we are now going back to our tutorial, and then we will then get more of a broader idea of what helping verbs are, right? So if we go back to our tutorial. All right, so a helping verb comes before a main verb. It helps the main verb to show action, right? And here we have an example that says, I am resting, right? So resting is the main verb, right? And the helping verb, right, is am, right? So which means that both helping verb as well as the main verb together is am resting. Am resting, right? Which means that the helping verb is am and the main verb is resting, right? So remember, a helping verb comes before a main verb. It helps the main verb show action. All right, so here are some common helping verbs, right? So verbs that forms to be. So helping verbs that forms to be is am, are, is, was, or were, right? These are all helping verbs that forms to be, right? Then we have verbs or helping verbs that forms to have, which is has, have, or had. Then we have verbs or helping verbs that forms to do, which is do, does, did, right? So that is a few helping verbs, right? So do, does, did, right? And these are the common helping verbs, right? That either forms to be, either forms to have, or forms to do, right? And here they also say that modal verbs, right, are can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, and must, right? But the most common ones are these ones, which are am, are, is, was, were, has, have, had, do, does, and did. These are the most common helping verbs, right? And then we have the modal verbs, which is can, could, might, may, might, will, do, would, shall, should, and must, right? So helping verbs, it always go before the main verbs because remember we said that it helps the main verb, right? It helps the main verb to show action. So it always go before the main verb, right? And they say, but the two verbs are not always next to each other, right? So sometimes you will find that the main verb and the helping verb is not directly next to each other, right? So a helping verb, yes, it goes in front of the main verb, but the two does not always go next to each other. And here we have an example. I am finally resting, right? So before we choose the helping verb, right, let us choose the main verb, right? And the main verb is resting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle the main verb, right? And then I'm going to underline the helping verb. So the main verb is resting, right? So now we need to underline and choose the helping verb, right? Which is am, right? So as you can see, the word in that basically separates the two words are finally, right? Or is finally. So I am finally resting, right? Which shows that the two verbs are not always next to each other, right? Am and resting is not directly next to each other, right? However, we can still identify that am is the helping verb and our main verb is resting. All right. So these are but a few main verbs. Okay, let us go to our whiteboard, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to look at um, the activities that we have here in front of us, right? Or the activity. The activity says circle the main verb in the sentence. So you're going to circle the main verb in the sentence and then we're going to underline the helping verb, right? So there's basically two instructions that we need to do. The first one is to circle the main verb within the sentence. And the second instruction is to underline the helping verb, right? All right, so I'm going to use two different colors, right? One to circle and the other one to underline. All right, so Nick will eat soup and bread for dinner. Nick will eat soup and bread for dinner. So we are first going to circle the main verb and then we're going to underline the helping verb. So Nick will eat soup and bread for dinner tonight. We need to identify by circling the main verb. What will Nick be doing? So Nick will eat, right? So we're going to circle eat, right? And now we need to underline the helping verb within that sentence, right? And then the helping verb is will, right? So will eat. What is Nick doing? He will eat, right? Nick will eat soup and bread for dinner tonight, right? Sarah is walking to the shop. Sarah is walking to the shop. We need to circle the main verb and we need to underline the helping verb. So we need to circle the main verb within the sentence and we need to underline the helping verb. Sarah is walking to the shop. All right, so we're going to circle our main verb, which is walking. And we need to underline our helping verb, right? That helps the main verb to show action. It is, right? So which means that is walking is our main verb as well as our helping verb. Jack and Jill had gone to the library. Jack and Jill had gone to the library. We need to choose the main verb by circling the main verb and underlining the helping verb. Jack and Jill had gone to the library. Oh, I skipped one. The dogs are sleeping on the bed. I skipped one. The dogs are sleeping on the bed. We need to choose by circle the main verb. So it is sleeping, right? Is the main verb. And the helping verb, it is are. So the dogs are sleeping on the bed, right? Which means are sleeping is the helping verb plus the main verb, which is sleep, are sleeping. Jack and Jill had gone to the library. Jack and Jill had gone to the library. We need to choose the main verb by circling it, and we also need to choose the helping verb by underlining it, right? So Jack and Jill had gone to the library. All right, so we're going to circle our main verb, which is gone, and our helping verb, which is had, right? Which means that Jack and Jill had gone to the library. That is our main verb gone plus our helping verb, which is had. So had gone is the helping verb plus our main verb. I am going away for the weekend. I am going away for the weekend. we need to choose or circle the main verb, and we need to underline our helping verb, right? So the main verb within the sentence is going, and we need to choose or underline our helping verb, which is am going, right? Am going. I am going away for the weekend, which means that our main verb is going and our helping verb is am. So am going. The girls were making colorful drawings on the sidewalk. Choose the main verb by circling it, and we underlining the helping verb. The girls were making colorful drawings on the sidewalk. All right, so we're going to circle the main verb, which is making, right? And our helping verb, which is were. So were making, right? So the girls were making colorful drawings on the sidewalk, right? So these are but a few examples of the main verbs that we have identified in the sentence, as well as the helping verbs that helps the verb or helps the main verb to show action, right? And we see that helping verbs are verbs that comes before the main verb within a sentence, right? It doesn't have to be directly next to each other. However, the helping verb do come in front of the main verb, right? And helping verbs, it either helps the main verb to describe action, either action that happened in the past or action that is happening in the present or action that will happen in the future, right? Meaning it still needs to happen, right? So these are but a few examples of main verbs as well as helping verbs that we have identified within the sentences. All right. All right. So now let us go to our test, right? Let's go to our test, right? Where we identify verbs and helping verbs, right? We need to select the helping verb within these words that we see in front of us. The nurse, the nurse was taking the patient's temperature every hour. We need to choose the correct helping verb. The nurse was taking the patient's temperature every hour. We need to choose the helping verb within the sentence, right? In order for you to make it a bit easier, you can then first select what the main verb is, and then you will then be able to easily find the helping verb that helps the main verb to show action. So we need to select the helping verb. And the helping verb is was. All right, so we chose was, and that is correct. So beautiful, wonderful. All right, select the helping verb. Soda does contain unhealthy amounts of sugar, unfortunately. Soda does contain unhealthy amounts of sugar, unfortunately. So we need to choose the correct helping verb within the words that we see here in front of us, right? Either soda does contain unhealthy amounts of sugar, unfortunately. All right, so if we want to kind of make it a bit easier for us, we can then identify the main verb, which is contain, right? And we remember we said that the helping verb comes in front of the main verb. So then we choose does contain, right? Does contain. All right, so we need to select the helping verb, right? Brenner and Dalton are designing clothes for a fashion show. Brenner and Dalton are designing clothes for a fashion show. So, what are Brenner and Dalton doing? If we were to identify the main verb, right, then we will say the main verb is designing, right? So then the helping verb is are. Beautiful. If you have that, then well done. We need to select the helping verb, right? Troy is tickling his little brother's feet. Troy is tickling his little brother's feet. All right. So we need to choose the main verb, not even the main verb, we choose um the helping verb. But in order for us to maybe choose the helping verb, we can maybe choose the main verb first by tickling, right? So Troy is tickling his little brother's feet, right? All right, going to do the last one. Select the helping verb. We should clean the fancy silverware before the holiday dinner. We should clean the fancy silverware before the holiday dinner. All right, so what we're gonna do is let's do this. Okay, let's choose that one. All right, so what we did was we chose the main verb, right? And the question or the, let's say basically the instruction was to select the helping verb, right? So by me choosing the incorrect verb is just an indication that if you do or whenever you do make a mistake, right, then you can always go back. Like you see, yeah, the helping verb is actually should, right? Because it helps or it assists the main verb, right, which is clean. So if you do make a mistake, what happens is that it takes you back to the tutorial page, and this is where it will show you what or how you should have done it, right? So the helping verb is should, and it is followed by the main verb clean, right? So that is the helping verb, which is should, and the main verb, which is clean, right? All right. So that is for the helping verb. So we're gonna do the last one. Select the helping verb. We have thrown the ball into the neighbor's yard many times. We have thrown the ball into the neighbor's yard many times. We need to choose the helping verb. All right. So we have thrown. So if we were to choose the correct, or we were to choose the verb, the main verb, then we can say the main verb is thrown, right? Which means that the helping verb is have. So if you have that, then well done, right? All right, so now we're going to go back, right? All right, so now just once again, if we go over what a helping verb is, right? A helping verb, it comes before the main verb, right? So the helping verb comes before the main verb and it helps the main verb to show action, right? And the helping verb is am, right? Not even am. The Of course, like in this sentence, we can say the helping verb is am because it's I am resting, right? So am is the helping verb, and then we have the main verb, which is resting, right? And then a few common, right, or some of the common nouns or some of the common helping verbs, sorry, some of the common helping verbs, it is maybe to be, which is am, are, is, was, or were, or it can form of to have, which is has, have, had, or it can form to do, which is do, does, or did, right? And remember the helping verb, it always comes before the main verb, right? But the two verbs are not always next to each other, right? So that is the helping as well as the main verb, right? All right, so now we're going to do our final test, right? And it's going to be a final test on to identify main verbs and helping verbs. All right, so this is where we are going to do the final test where we select the helping verbs, right? So I'm going to read the words for you, and then we are going to choose the helping verb, right? Remember, in order for you to also maybe identify a helping verb, try and first identify the main verb and then you choose the helping verb. It will basically make it a bit way easier for you, right? So select the helping verb. We should clean the fancy silverware before the holiday dinner. So we need to choose the helping verb, right? So maybe you can select first the main verb, right? And then you choose what the helping verb is. Remember, we said a helping verb comes before the main verb, it helps the main verb. All right, so if we were to first choose the main verb, right, then we can say the main verb is clean, right? But remember, the instruction doesn't ask us to select the main verb. It is asking us to select the helping verb, right? So if the main verb is clean, then a helping verb is should, right? It is should. So if you have that, then beautiful. The next helping verb. The nurse was taking the patient's temperature every hour. We need to choose the helping verb. So you can then first choose the main verb and then choose the verb. All right. So our main verb within the sentence is taking, right? So that is the main verb, right? But now it is asking us for the helping verb, right? It's asking us for the helping verb, and the helping verb is was. All right. So if you have was, then beautiful, wonderful. Select the helping verb. Even the strongest trees were shaking during the storm. Even the strongest trees were shaking during the storm. We need to choose the helping verb. even the strongest trees were shaking during the storm. We can even first select the main verb, and our main verb is shaking, right? So now remember we said the helping verb comes before the main verb, right? So we need to select the helping verb within this these few words that we see jumbled up. All right, so were is the correct word, right? We need to select the helping verb. Brenna and Dalton are designing clothes for a fashion show. So Brenna and Dalton are designing clothes for a fashion show. We need to select the helping verb. In order for us to maybe choose the or select the helping verb, we can first select what the main verb is, right? So we can then maybe first select the main verb, and then you can then choose the helping verb. And remember, we said the helping verb comes before the main verb. So Brenna and Dalton are designing clothes for a fashion show. All right, so if we were to choose the main verb, right, within the sentence, right, then we can say designing is our main verb, right? It is something that Brenner and Dalton is doing, right? They are designing clothes for a fashion show. But now we don't want the main verb, we want the helping verb, right? We need to select the helping verb. So if designing is the main verb, then we're going to choose are as our helping verb, right? Are as our helping verb. All right, the next one says Fred would like a hamburger with lettuce and tomato. Fred would like a hamburger with lettuce and tomato. We need to select the helping verb. Or you can first select the main verb and then you can select the helping verb, right? Fred would like a hamburger with lettuce and tomatoes, right? So we would then select our main verb as like, which means that we are going to select the helping verb as would. So if you have that, then well done, right? So that is then it for helping verbs. And within this lesson, we then identified the main verbs and the helping verbs, right? And we said that a helping verb comes before main verb, right? And it helps the main verb to show action. And we also have a few helping verbs or the common helping verbs, which are be, which is am, are, is, was, were, to have, which is has, have, or had, or to do, which is does or did. And remember, I said that the helping verb comes before the main verb, right? However, the two verbs are not always next to each other, right? It's not always next to each other. All right, so now we're going to go to aplusclasses.ca. All right, so we're going to aplusclasses.ca. Then we're going to click on learning materials. Let's go to grades and we go to grade 5. All right, so then go to language arts, and then we're going to language arts practice book, right? And it's the practice book O. Macmillan or McGraw-Hill. All right. Oh, I don't see the verbs. Let us go to the grammar practice book. Let's go to the grammar practice book, which is the third one, rather. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the verbs. Actually, let's stay on this page, right? Let's stay on page 56. So you're going to go to page 56, right? Once you're on page 56, right, we're going to use the sentences within um, on this page and then use the verbs, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to select the verbs within the sentences that we see. So you are on page, or we are on page 56 in the grammar and language workbook. It's supposed to be grade 6, grade 5. All right, so we are going to identify within the sentence, right? My frog, Big Nell, had the longest legs and jumped further. We need to choose the verb within that sentence. So we are going to underline what the verb is. All right, so we're then going to say jumped, right? Because that is the verb within that sentence. You can put the trophy on the mantle, or you can put it on the shelf. So you put the trophy on the mantle, or you can put it on the shelf. We need to choose the verb within the sentences, right? All right, so if we select the verb within that sentence and we can say put, right? So there's two. So we can put it, can put the trophy on the mantle, or you can put it on the shelf. The cats slept in their cages and their owners waited nervously. There are two verbs within that sentence. The cats slept in their cages and the owners waited nervously. We need to choose two verbs within the sentence. So the cats slept in their cages and their owners waited nervously. All right, so if we were to choose the or select the verbs, then we will say slept and waited. Right? Those are the two verbs within that sentences. Puff was the prettiest cat, but she didn't win. Was the prettiest cat, but she didn't win. Or we can just go to the next one, right? So you're going to choose one in by number 19. Is I'd like to take a kitten home, but we already have too many cats. Number 20, I'd like to take a kitten home, but we already have too many cats. we need to choose the verb within that sentence. All right, so we are going to say take is our verb. So take is our verb. The goat ate its blue ribbon and took a nap. So the goat ate its blue ribbon and took a nap. There are two verbs, sorry, within that sentence. So the goat ate the blue ribbon and took a nap. We need to choose the verbs. There are two within that sentence. All right, so we're going to choose ate and nap. Right? It is things that they are doing. Right? All right, I'm going to do two more. Anita raised the champion cow. Her brother showed it at the fair. Anita raised the champion cow. Her brother showed it at the fair. We need to choose the two verbs within those sentences. So Anita raised a champion cow. Her brother showed it at the fair. All right, so we are going to choose the verb of raised and showed, right? That is the two verbs, right? And we're going to do the last one. All right, let's go to 27. Let's go to 27. Jenny feeds the rabbits and Andy brushes. We need to choose two verbs within that sentence. So it's the rabbits and Andy brushes them. Two verbs that we need to identify and underline within that sentence. All right, so feeds and brushes is correct, right? So that is but two verbs, so that is but the verbs within those sentences, right? That is the verbs within that sentences. So just to recap on what our lesson was for today. So we were doing the lesson on identifying main verbs and helping verbs, and we said a helping verb, it comes before a main verb, right? So a helping verb, it helps the main verb to show action, right? And as much as the helping verb goes before the main verb, but the two verbs are not always next to each other, right? So that is the main verb as well as the helping verb, right? So that is it for our lesson, right? We have reached the end of our lesson today on identifying main verbs and helping verbs. Thank you very much for joining our class today and also for being interactive, right, within our lessons. You should have an amazing evening further. Goodbye.